Hello everyone. Just before we begin, I wanted to let you know that the British Podcast Awards are currently open and they are taking votes as to who should win the Listener Choice Award. You've got until the 28th of April to lend your support to your favourite podcasts that come from Britain, Great Britain, and obviously Staying In is one of those. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, these chaps and ladies, they're actually quite good at doing this show, I'd like to support them, then you can go to www.britishpodcastawards.com/vote. I'm going there right now. There we are. I'm right here. And you can go onto it and then you can search for your favourite show. So type in Staying In if that's going to be one of your favourite shows. You select that, then you go to the next bit, and then you type in your name and your email address, and you can also enter to win some tickets to go to the ceremony and all that sort of stuff. And that's it. And by doing that, you'll be championing the very best podcasts that are made in Britain, and hopefully us, if you choose to. As I say, you've got until the 28th of April. I think that's when voting closes. Maybe do it by the 27th to be safe. But yeah, go to britishpodcastawards.com/vote and tell people which shows you like. Thanks.
Arkham Horror the card game, Sugar and Dice, and Crowtel Renovations. This is Staying In. Just the tuna bus.
Just the tuna bus.
Do you remember the tuna bus?
No, I've no idea what the tuna bus is.
Yeah, you do.
No, I've no idea. I know the song Just the Two of Us.
Yeah, no, we spoke about the tuna bus the last time. It was just the two of us.
Oh, of course. Oh.
There I was, hoping for a lovely pang of nostalgia.
Of that one time we did a podcast. I'm wearing my different headphones. Obviously, you know, as an audio medium, this doesn't translate particularly well. But I'm wearing my headphones today, which make me feel a little bit like I'm Robot Leia.
Well, I was going to say you look more David Guetta than Robot Leia.
No. Is David Guetta the DJ?
Yeah, David Guetta is. You actually do strike quite a resemblance to David Guetta. That's actually the first time I've seen this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the dance hall. I'll be putting on your favourite records. If it's nice, play it twice.
Oh my god, that's actually, especially with those headphones. Wow.
I know. Especially with this full-on beard as well, and also all the millions and millions of dollars I have, like David Guetta.
There's that as well.
Is it David Guetta or David Guetta?
David Guetta. As someone who used to work in commercial radio, I was told on several occasions that I was pronouncing his name wrong by my bosses. So, David Guetta. But he is French, so I always thought, because he's French, that you'd add a little bit of joie de vivre.
Yeah, sure.
To his name.
Yeah.
David Guetta.
Or maybe the G's silent, like David Weta.
David Weta.
David Weta.
Talking of names, right. So at the moment, me and my partner, we're quite obsessed with, of an evening, cuddling down together and watching an episode of Forensic Files on Netflix. Have you watched Forensic Files?
I don't know what that is.
So Forensic Files is a series of about, 400 shows on Netflix. All of which are perfectly digestible, 20-25 minutes each. Add to this the fact that they were all produced in the late 90s, early 2000s, before 16:9 was a credible broadcasting aspect ratio.
Yep.
And every episode is a case, all narrated by this really overdramatic voiceover man who sometimes sounds like he's making up forensic procedures, but you never quite know. And so what happens is you get a case, something happens, someone dies, someone gets murdered, and it details all the forensic processes that went through to go through the crime. And some of it is actually quite interesting, you know, when they demonstrate how someone faked killing their own children. No, they didn't fake it. They actually did it, but they faked that someone came into the house to do it.
Right, okay.
And they managed to prove it by how the blood spatter fell on the floor, that the way that she was holding the knife or something like that proved that it was like hanging down by her side rather than up front in like a defensive pose. She like claimed that it would happen. So that was quite interesting.
Okay.
And the narrator's just like, the forensic scientist put it in a spectrum optometrizer. And he's like, you're just making. That's not a real thing. Anyway,
in the blood splatterficon.
Yeah, exactly. So it is brilliant, and my girlfriend is obsessed with crime and real crime. Give her any if we renamed our podcast "Staying In" because we're murderers, and she would listen to it. Like that's the kind of thing. Like she'd be at home with something like that. But we were watching it the other day, and Americans do have a penchant for fancy names, and like weird, Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, to name but a few weird American names. Rockefeller,
Yeah, Rockefeller's a bit weirder than Jim Beam. I think that's quite a standard name. And Jack Daniels is quite a standard as well, actually, thinking about it. But Rockefeller, yeah, sure.
Trump,
Trump, yeah.
So we were watching it, and this woman was on it, and she was recounting the tale of when of a grisly murder that her father was accused for, or something like that. And her name pops up, and no word of a lie, her name was Cindy Pancake.
No.
Cindy Pancake.
No, that's not a real human being.
It was a real human being.
That's an alien trying to fit in human society.
Hello, what's your name? John Crumpet.
yeah, looks over to breakfast platter. No, that's the name of a character from a BBC children's cartoon from the 70s. That's not what regular humans. What I don't. Did her family like invent pancakes?
I don't know. Shall we search for Cindy Pancake? I don't.
Yeah, search for Cindy Pancake.
What will happen when I put
it sounds like
Cindy Pancake.
Yeah. So you'll find Parsley the Lion, and then you'll find
well, she's on Twitter, so
okay, good. Let's have a look. What's she up to?
The one of the last tweets that Cindy Pancake did was feeling great about completing our employment satisfaction survey.
Great name, slightly boring Twitter account. Or maybe that's what she's into. Maybe that's her life. Do you know what? She's living her own life. That's fine. If that's what she's into, like employment survey, employment satisfaction questionnaire.
Brilliant. This is a great one. So you won't know who Adam Levine is, do you?
No, I have no idea who that is.
Adam Levine is the lead singer of American pop group Maroon 5.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of Maroon 5, yeah.
Right, I can't believe I have to go through all this just for one petty tweet from Cindy Pancake. But anyway, do you know what The Voice is?
Yeah, it's like something that comes out of the mouth.
But do you know the premise of The Voice?
Yeah, it's like vocal cords.
The program The Voice.
No, I have no idea what that is. I've no idea what The Voice is. Is that like a pop idol or an apprentice or something?
Yeah. But the twist of The Voice is that the judges don't see the person unless they choose to see the person. So they can't judge someone on their appearance. So when they come out to sing, and when they come out to sing, all they are hearing is the voice, and they judge whether to let them through to the next stage based on nothing but the voice that they're hearing.
I really like that. That's cool.
So having explained all that to you, Cindy Pancake, I love how Adam Levine just knows when someone starts to sing #The Voice.
Of course he knows when someone starts to sing. Everyone knows when someone starts to sing. What's she saying? What's Cindy Pancake saying?
I don't know.
He knows when someone starts singing. Adam Levine's not a musical expert because he can tell that somebody is singing.
is a tough job working on a reality.
Oh man, Cindy Pancake, what a great name. So is she like the presenter?
No, she was just a witness. She was a member of the family of someone who was killed or someone who did some killing.
Oh my god!
So
I doubt the Pancakes would have a murder in the midst.
Well, they'd be a bit crap, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Good. Was that all for that one joke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
For the last 10 minutes, we've been leading up to that.
What? Yeah. That one joke. Good. Well, I'm sorry I couldn't. I'm sorry I couldn't come on and play video games with you earlier.
It's all right.
I know you were like, "Oh, I'm online. I'm going to play some video games," and I was like, "Oh, I could join Sam and play some Borderlands or something," which I am enjoying. Like Borderlands 2.
It's good, isn't it?
It is a good shooting video game.
When we started playing it, the four of us,
Mm-hmm.
It did kind of remind me how it's a really, really solid shooter and a really solid co-op multiplayer, but it's amazing how quickly all attempts at trying to hold on to the narrative just slips out the window.
Just fall apart. Yeah.
Which is kind of was my big grievance of Borderlands 1, because we were really enjoying it. And then when it was just like, well, this story's been happening for the last 15 hours, and I think we all turned to each other virtually and just went,
yeah.
What?
Yeah, okay.
And the loot system I'm not 100% sold on still.
Yeah. What, the go over to the thing and pick every individual item up?
Yeah, only because I kind of like to look at what I'm looting first. And I was like looking at a gun, and it's really clever, like the way that you hover across a gun and it immediately tells you, where you're going to get certain stat boosts and where your stats are going to decline in certain areas. So I was kind of weighing that up, and I was doing that, and then Dan comes along and just pickpockets it, and it's like,
yeah, classic Dan though.
Classic Dan,
I mean,
though,
I think like I'm with you. Also, I find that the picking up of loot is a bit of a chore. Like I'm wandering through the space and thinking to myself, oh, okay, there's some money over there, and you can press and hold the square button, because obviously we're playing on PlayStation, and you'll pick up all the money, but you won't pick up all the items. And even if you do pick up all the items, well, then suddenly your pockets are just full, and you're like, okay, well, I've just picked up 5 guns I don't want. So I would much rather have had this system where I think it might be Diablo, maybe. There's a couple of mobile sort of RPGs that have big loot systems where basically you get to the end of an area and then a big screen just presents and just goes, right, here's all the loot that you received, and your bags are infinite, and here's like the best weapons that you got out of this. What do you want? Like that would have been a much more fluid, smooth process. Whereas like at the moment, I find in Borderlands 2, there's a bit of this sort of like admin. Like there's this, okay, well, let me just quickly go through this and figure out which one's better and which one's worse. And oh, okay, I've my pockets are full now, so now I need to go to one of those vending machines and sell my things and buy some more ammo. I mean, these are minor. I will say this though, like that is a minor gripe for what is ostensibly a very fun multiplayer shooty bang bang experience. Where, like, I'm with you. I think the story is. It's not great at telling its story, but it's better at telling its story than the original.
Yeah. It's just the story thing is a shame, especially when it's got such great characters in it, like Handsome Jack. Yeah. And there is really good writing, and it just seems to get lost in this. And I think it's a symptom that is exacerbated, or at least exacerbates the inventory system. It's the fact that the gameplay is so fast and frenetic. You never have a moment to digest the story, and you never have a moment to sort out your inventory and really consider what you are picking up. And when you do take those moments, you feel like you're almost stepping too far away from the game. So it never quite gets that balance. Like,
you feel like you're holding.
Like,
you feel like you're holding the team back. You're just like, oh, hold on a second, let me just quickly do some inventory management. And it's like, but the bits of story that do come in here and there, I think it is a better told story than the original. It's the thing that gets me is there's just little jokes every now and again that come through the sort of mad bants between you and your pals. Like there's when you're actually playing online, there's every once in a while you'll just hear Claptrap and he'll do a great joke, or there'll be a visual gag that's really obvious and upfront. It's really, really well told in that way. But the overall overarching, like, you are a hero, you have gone into this thing, it is your destiny. Whenever that lady pops up in the top right hand corner, she's like, you must go to here to make sure that you can. I don't care. It's just like Borderlands for me, in terms of its narrative, the whole point of it is just let us set up this fun world to be a part of that is very distinctive, helped a lot by its visuals, but very distinctive in terms of its in terms of the way that it's like a very grim and gritty and pretty tough environment to work in, but all the time just completely subverting itself with silly humor and gags and stuff like that. But yeah, the other thing is, I just think that the game is just like a really good shooter. It feels a lot more shooter than RPG, whereas Borderlands felt a little bit more like it felt a little bit like it was leaning a bit more into the RPG side of things. Whereas this time around, it just feels like a really super solid shooter. Even on with console controls and stuff, you never feel like you're hamstrung or anything like that. You never feel like you're really playing a PC game, but awkwardly with a DualShock. I'm getting a lot more like headshots and criticals through that now. I feel a lot more mobile and active, and that I can do more things more quickly in that. And I also, the best thing about it, the four of us playing it again, which is something that hasn't happened for, I thought about this the other day, 5 years we played the original Borderlands. Wow. It was about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. That is a long time.
But anyway, we got massively off because you wanted to talk about what?
So I couldn't, obviously I couldn't make it because I was very selfishly playing a video game that I've wanted to play for a long time by myself. I got this on Steam. This is Crowtel Renovations, and
Crowtel, as in like hotel.
CR0 bloody L CROWTEL Renovations. So it's like a hotel renovation. It's from SinksAdventure, and it's the only game on Steam from Sinks, and it is an enhanced remake, I guess, of another game called Crowtel, which is where it's actually from. I believe that was on Itch.io, which is like a download platform that's kind of an equivalent to Steam, I guess. Basically just another way of getting hold of PC indie games. Anyway, so Crowtel Renovations is a 2D platforming game with a great sense of humour and a very trying to be kind of old school art style. Like, it's very pixely, but it never quite lands on which platform it's trying to emulate. Like, you know how you can get, when you look at like old school games, you can say, okay, yeah, that looks like a Mega Drive game, or that looks like a NES game, or that looks like that platform from PC Engine or whatever. Well, Crowtel Renovations, you can't quite tell which, if it's deliberately trying to ape a system, but it's really beautiful. It's really sweet, and I think that it's very cute pixel art. I would say it's like that's what it's going for. It's going for a kind of cutesy style, and it's about a crow who owns a hotel, and two inspector cats come in, and they're health and safety inspectors, and they're like, right, we're gonna look through your hotel and make sure that everything's okay. And then you're like, oh no, I've got to go and clean everything up. So you run into your hotel, and it turns out it's a massive death trap, and you have to then navigate through jumping and chirping. So you can press the shoot button to chirp out little sounds. Jumping and chirping, you have to defeat lots of enemies that are along the way and do some pretty smart platforming. takes a little while to get going. In the platforming initially, the platforming initially is quite safe. So the art style is what carries it through the first couple of levels. Like, you're looking at this thing going, oh, this is really sweet and cute, and the health inspector cats just look adorable and also evil at the same time. And obviously you're playing as a crow who's running a hotel, which is quite cool. And then it takes this a little while to get going, and then it starts unveiling some really cool platforming ideas that it sort of uses once and then never really comes back to ever again. So there's a moment, and I don't want to spoil it, but much of the game, because I think it's well worth playing through. It takes about an hour and a half to play through the entirety of it, including the sort of second part of the game, which is where you go and run a hotel, where you're a frog, and you have to come back and you have to make your way to the Crowtel. But there's one platform bit, for example, where there's a cockroach on the other side of the door, and then who's stood next to a button, and then you're obviously the crow, and you're stood next to a button, and you jump on the button, and the door between the two of you opens, and as soon as that happens, the cockroach on the other side jumps on its button, and then the door slams shut again, and you have to figure out how to open the door in between the two of you quick enough, and so that the cockroach can't slam the door in your face again. There's lots of bits with ghosts. There's tons of ghosts, and they're all very sweet, and they jump out and they shout boo. So there's some really nice little platforming ideas that doesn't hang about too long on.
Like just little sort of vignettes, some nice sort of
little moments, because like I say, it's only an hour and a half long, and it just doesn't want to stick around for too long. It doesn't want to beat sort of a dead horse. Really, it's more like there's another great bit where there are these lily pads that you can jump on. There's this section where
this when you're the frog.
This is where you're the frog. This is where you're Lily, and there's these little lily pad leaf things, and if you jump on it, it's fine, and if an enemy jumps on it, it's fine, and it will hold your weight. But if you're both on it, then it will fall.
That's interesting.
And so you're over these like precipices, and so you start to realize, okay, well, only I'm the one. I have to stay on this if I'm on this, and I have to get rid of any enemies before they jump onto it, and that's fine. And then you come into another section where these birds are like throwing their eggs down, and if the egg also touches the leaf, then suddenly the leaf falls away again. So where you were initially trying to avoid these eggs that were falling from the sky, you actively now want to try and get underneath them so that you can shoot up at them so that they don't fall on your leaf. So it's these really nice little twists on the platforming idea. So this came up I saw this on Twitter and just saw somebody tweeting about Crowtel Renovations, and I was just like, okay, well, I'm going to go and give that a go. It's like £2 or £3 on Steam, and I was just like, sod it, why not? Yeah. I rinsed through that in an afternoon, and thoroughly enjoyed myself. Very fun, very silly, cute, nice little platformer. There's some little difficulty spikes that I kind of ran up against, which just kind of infuriated me a little bit, but you get past them after about 5 minutes. And
you're going to in a game that lasts only 90 minutes, though, aren't you?
Exactly.
Because otherwise it's a breeze for 90 minutes, or it's rock solid for 90 minutes. So
absolutely, but it's this very sweet platforming adventure, and it feels a lot like, I talk about this a lot, these games that are like gaming sorbets, right? These games where you play them in between other much bigger, grander experiences, and this is absolutely one of those. There's something that you and I have both been playing that I think that you and I should
go on. What's that?
We should get into this a little bit.
Okay.
Should we? Okay. I think you've played it a little bit more than I have, but
what's that?
Arkham Horror, the card game.
Yeah.
That is a really good game.
It's a very, very. I'm not wanting to get too excited about it, but it is I think it's a very good game.
Yeah.
I been wanting to get hold of it for ages. I think I sort of, I was when I was listening back to one of the podcasts, I was sort of laughing at myself for espousing it like I'm really singing its praises for ages before I even actually got down to play it.
Yeah,
I was thinking,
yeah.
I bet it turns out to be shit now and just like a terrible version of the Arkham games. But I played it through the first scenario, the first campaign, with a friend of mine at the weekend.
So I've played that as well. Yeah,
and it was just it was a really, really incredible experience. I was sort of trepidatious coming in because when I was in Bristol with you and Chris and Alex, you were sort of talking about your experiences with Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror.
So there's Arkham Horror, the board game.
Yes.
Which is just a really, really relentlessly difficult, wants to punch you in the face as much as it possibly can kind of board game with way too much complexity and silliness. Yeah. So
the card game version, and you saw I kind of talked about it on a previous podcast, but I'll kind of be brief. Is that the characters that you play? There's 4 in the base set, of which you can choose a combination of 2, and effectively the characters that you play are a deck of cards.
Yeah,
that you have quite a lot of customization over, but definitely when we were going into the first round, and I kind of goldfished, I played it one player as well, which the first scenario again, because it wasn't, which is okay, but to quote Ubisoft, this game works better when you have someone to share the anecdotes of what's happening along with the play alongside it. I think it settles the difficulty, it curves the difficulty really well the more players that you have. There's a clever mechanic that uses, but essentially you've got these decks of cards that form the basis of a character that you can create, so you can make characters a bit more aggressive or a bit more bookish. And you basically take these characters into a scenario, and the first scenario starts with the 2 of you investigating disappearances in the town of Arkham, and suddenly the door to your study disappears. And so it's a really, really almost tutorial scenario, because the way that it works is that you, in order to advance your part of the story, i.e. success against the mythos, the Lovecraftian enemies which pop out from anywhere, is for you to investigate it and to find clues. So the first part of the game is literally you just in a study with nothing, looking for clues. Find enough clues, you find the door which has appeared in your floor, that then goes into the hallway, and then it's once you're out the hallway that this room expands. You've got a lot more locations, and a lot more enemies start to appear. And we were playing it, my friend and I, and I was quite trepidatious about the whole Lovecraftian guise to it, 'cause it's not a world that I'm familiar with or find that appealing, really.
Okay, that's interesting, because I'm listening to the complete works of H.P. Lovecraft at the moment, and because obviously, and I am about a third of the way through his complete fiction, that's under his name only, because he wrote some other stuff. I'm doing it chronologically, so I'm only now just up to. I just listened to Horror at Red Hook and The Call of Cthulhu, and that's where I'm up to now. And so that world I'm a bit more familiar with, that kind of mythos stuff. So I was already at this point, because I played this with Alex, already looking at this stuff going, okay, I can see where all the tropes of Lovecraft are coming in. I can see the horror, the madness. Okay, I see where this is going to be going.
Yeah, but the thing is that what that sort of veil over this card game does, this Lovecraftian card game, is it lets it get away with so much ludonarrative dissonance.
Yeah.
That in another game would feel shoehorned, would grind against. So the aim of the game, as I said, is for you to advance your part of the story, for you to succeed in certain missions and certain tasks in order to sort of stop and prevent the rise of the monsters. In the case of the first scenario of the 3 campaign that comes in the base set, it's effectively stopping the monsters that are spawning in your house getting out. And there was one point in it that I drew a card which gave my character amnesia. And so what effectively happened was my character walked into a room, went, "What am I doing?"
Brilliant.
And I had to discard all my cards and just leave myself with one.
Mm-hmm.
In any other game, I would have felt cheated by that experience.
Yeah.
But because this is in a Lovecraftian world, the possibility of that happening to a character seems all the more real. And suddenly, like, we were in a position where we were really pushing back and we were doing really well. And then suddenly it was just like, I just went into a room and went, what? Who am I? And another one was a friend was playing Roland Banks, which is kind of like, he's the archetypal sort of 1920s cop guy, investigator. And he, as his weakness card, he drew it out, and it was something called past case or cover up, and the art on the card was wonderful, of this like shrouded, not even a body, but this like mass underneath the cloth, and this like shadowy figure pouring what looks like petrol over it. And what the card does is it puts 3 clue tokens on the card, and then whenever you succeed at making an investigation check, i.e. whenever you succeed in finding a clue, you take it off the cover-up rather than taking it from the location and adding it to your success tracker, as it was. So it's this idea of this cop alone in this attic with these things hunting him, and suddenly they get this flashback to this part of their life, this dark area of themselves, and it's so traumatic that it stops them doing their job. And I think that when I've played other card games in the past, and these things kind of happen, and I think even Pandemic Legacy is a bit liable to do it. You know, stuff just just happens, stuff just occurs, and you've got to deal with it, and you kind of got to find a way of how it fits inside of into your narrative that you're creating. Whereas here, everything is just so much part of this wonderful world, and the fact that it all exists inside this deck. So with those weaknesses, those are things that are drawn at random when you first create your deck. And I was just using, for sake of speed and time, I just put together 2 of the decks based on how the introductory guide lays them out, and then just put in these 2 basic weaknesses. And like they just popped up, and it was just incredible. And the fact that as the game goes on, you can actually, as I believe it, there are possibilities that you will gain more weaknesses into your hand. Your characters will become more scarred by the things that they encounter, and that's a fantastic prospect. Now we've done the first mission, I think what I'm going to do next is actually look a bit deeper into the deck building before I actually commit myself to doing the full campaign, because I've already bought 2 expansions.
What?
So I'm going like deep.
Deep okay, right, okay. So what I was going to say before you just said, "Oh, I've already bought the 2 expansions," is what I love about this game is, first of all, that it provides you these pre-constructed decks. So it's a buy the game, buy the box. You know, you don't need to buy anything else. But we're also going to tell you exactly how to build a deck out. It's not like Magic where it's like, right, learn all of these systems before you start playing.
Yeah, and even if you're not that familiar with deck building, on the backs of each of the characters' card, it's really clearly defined what cards can go into their hands.
Yeah.
So each character has 2 cards that must go into their hand, and then they can only have cards of 2 symbols. So of the 4 attributes that you have, like intelligence, physicality, agile, and something else, like discovery or something.
Strength,
like
isn't it?
Yeah, it's something like that. But each character can only have a combination of things from those 2 specific sections, and then for the rest of it, it's just, well, any card you want, but you can only have 2 of them, and the deck sizes are only 30 cards. There's only a 30 card limit, so it's not like a 60 card Magic deck.
Yeah,
and you're not trying to create. You're not having to worry about synergy or effects, or you don't have to worry about what's it called, ratio of land. The
mana curve.
The mana curve. You don't have to worry about any of that. So because everything is so within this world, you just think about your character. You just think about, right, my character. He I think he likes to get really up close, so I'll give him a couple of knives. But he is a cop, so I'll give him I'll give him a magnifying glass and a torch. Or another character is just like, they kind of like live life on the edge. Like Wendy is a street urchin, so she's very much about like doing things in a rough and tumble nature. So like, if she fails a test, she can kind of just like sneak in there and just like get what she wants out of it. So that's why the deck building, I don't think, is at all like off-putting in any way.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, and that to me is really exciting, because it's a condensed living card game where you can just simply go, right, that's my box, that's what I'm going to do. That was what I was going to say, but you've already gone and bought 2 expansions. So what do the expansions actually bring with it? Because I've only got the core set at the moment, and hopefully I would like to I'd like to kind of, as much as I can, or at least for as long as possible, steer away from this becoming another obsession like Magic the Gathering.
So I think that I personally think there's enough in the base game to keep you going for a long time, because even though I've already played through the first scenario twice, and I've already seen a let's play of it. I've already seen like a couple of people let's play of it, and I think that definitely the first scenario demands a couple of playthroughs, because there's a couple of rule clarifications that we didn't quite get right. Like looking back on it, like a couple of like order turns and things like that, and how the enemies behave. Some of it's a little bit tricky to get the hang of. So I think there is lots of replayability, because just like you're drawing randomly from a deck of cards to define what your character does, you're drawing randomly from a mythos deck, which is pre-constructed but shuffled in terms of what enemies you encounter and what sort of situations happen. So I do think that even though the scenario has a clearly defined through line, there's still a lot of randomness in it. So I think the base game definitely has a lot to offer, and what I've heard going on, that the first scenario has about 4 locations, but the scenario 2 and 3 of the base game have 8 or 10 scenarios or locations. So you're doing a lot more.
Cool.
There's a lot more kind of going on.
Cool.
So what I've done is I've bought 2 of the scenario packs. So Fantasy Flight have released the Dunwich Legacy, which is the deluxe expansion, which is again another sort of boxed 3 scenario campaign, I believe, and there's new characters in it that you can be.
Cool.
So you get those new characters and then put them back in the starting scenario again and see how they handle and all that kind of stuff. But the reason I bought the scenario pack, so Carnival of Horrors and the Curse of Rougarou, I don't know. they're effectively side missions. So to kind of go a little bit deeper, one of the great things about Arkham Horror, the card game, is that when you complete a scenario, you get experience points, just like an RPG.
Yeah.
You can either spend those experience points on upgrading cards to high levels, or you can spend those experience points to do one of these side missions as part of your overall campaign. So effectively, just like Witcher or any sort of RPG, you've done the main mission, and now something else pops up, and you go and do that.
That's cool.
So that's the reason I got them, because I thought that they can be played standalone. So you can just of an evening, let's do the Carnival of Horrors or the Curse of Rougarou or whatever it's called. Or they can shape part of your whole experience over this campaign. They just slot in between parts of your mission. So that for me was a prospect that I didn't want to kind of turn down. I was just really attracted to this thing of having this wonderful boxed RPG and feeling like I can take my characters on adventures, and people can just jump in and join me for stuff and then jump out.
The thing that really grabbed me about it is it does feel like a halfway house between a pen and paper RPG with that level of role playing, and that you don't have to take part in. You don't have to do the I'm an investigator and I'm going to talk like this.
No, because some of it is ridiculous, and you kind of have to just
you just have to kind of go with it. But there's a bit of that, but there's also a bit of that card. I love 2-player card games. I just think they are really, really intense, and games that get a lot of mileage out of just poker-sized cards is really smart as well. Everything in this is the same size card. But those cards are not only the story, but the location and the investigators and the and the weapons that you use, everything, how everything just sits on the table. Just there's something really visually satisfying about all of that. And also it's a co-op game, which I love co-op games, but it doesn't have that quarterbacking stuff really. No. You can absolutely you can do that if you really want to, but because you each have your own hand, because those are kept in front of you, and actually the rules say you should keep these kind of hidden, it discourages the quarterbacking stuff. The other thing I really love about it is it is building into that Magic the Gathering-esque, I've bought this core set and I'm going to have a really great time with it. And if I want to go ahead and have more experiences, I will totally go and purchase a pack, like you say, and go, right, we're going to play that over the weekend and have a lovely time with it.
But I think that's slightly different to Magic the Gathering, though.
Oh, no, that's what I was going to say. But what it doesn't have is just an unlimited bottomless pit where you can throw all of your money into it. It's I'm going to buy this set and I know exactly what I'm going to get, and the game is completely balanced for you having made that one purchase. It isn't a right, well, unless I spend 200 quid on Magic cards, there's no way I'm going to keep up with my friend who's paid 400.
For example, one of the reasons I did invest in those expansion decks is that, and it's not really expansion deck, it is a scenario. It's like buying Blood and Wine and Witcher or Hearthstone.
It's DLC, isn't it?
It's DLC. And it's it's a size of a 52 pack of cards. It's for me to come and visit you, or you visit me. You bring your character, or I bring my character, and I bring, well, let's do this. Let's do this for a couple of hours. Let's just see how we cope with what's going to happen. I think that's just a wonderful prospect, and a kind of, it does make me wish that we all lived a bit closer and we all had lots more free time. But then that's the thing. We've always talked about that of that would be cool if we were playing, because I would play Magic all the time. I would be really into it. But the thing with this is that
you're just making a record of who that character is. So it could be another 9 months until we play each other again. That character is still the same. You can still flick through what your hand is. Oh yeah, I remember exactly how all of this plays. Yeah. You know, and it isn't time sensitive in that way, which again is something that I really, really like about it. It's actually made me really want to. It's made me want to. First of all, so I played the first scenario with Alex. We lost pretty badly, actually. Again, it's one of those things I think we'll play it a couple of times with a couple of different investigators and find out how each of them plays. I think
that's really worthwhile.
But the other thing of it is it's made me think, wow, like this limited format to card games. I think this is what I want. This is what I want from these kinds of games. And I've got, a basically still sealed copy of Netrunner sat on my shelf where I'm like, I really need to play that at some point. And it's really inspired me to go, okay, I'm gonna break that out at some point and sit down with Alex and we'll figure out how the game actually plays and runs and enjoy those 2-player competitive and, in the case of Arkham Horror, the card game, cooperative experiences.
Chris, my partner and I we went to Liverpool to visit Chris for a day.
That'll be nice.
And Chris has a board game cafe in the lovely part of Liverpool that he lives. It's called Sugar and Dice. Sugar and Dice.
Why is it that all the board game cafes have great puns for names?
I know, it's great, isn't it? It's fantastic. And we went in there, and you would have loved it straight away because, and let me get the name of this game right, is because we went in there, we booked a table, even though we did not need to because it was a Tuesday afternoon.
Right, okay, yeah.
But we were in there, and you'd love this.
Okay.
Because sitting at the back of the table, and they were there for... we were in there for about 3 or 4 hours, and they were probably in there since the morning playing Star Wars Rebellion.
Yes.
So I think that you would, you would have got great joy from seeing someone just 2 people occupying this like 3 table long stretch at the back of the board game cafe, and we had a really, really good time in it, and it's set up a bit like Chance Encounters.
Yep.
As in, they had a section of very small, sort of quick, digestible games, and then the rest of the sort of bigger games were spread out across the rest of the shelving space. And we played. We were able to play a game of Gloom, which is one of those games that I always see in board game shops and go, "Oh, that looks interesting," but never made the purchase. To play it.
I've got a copy of that on my shelf. It's all right.
It's really good. I really enjoyed it. My partner really, really enjoyed it. As someone who loves murder and that kind of life. When you're inflicting misery on other people, she took an enjoyment to that, which I'm not sure whether I should be concerned or not.
Keep an eye on that. Yeah.
We played Unusual Suspects, which is kind of like a grown-up version of Guess Who, which is very interesting. Celeste, which Chris really loved. Like, it was really up his street because it had a little cardboard model of a floating airship, and it was very sort of Dixit style artwork.
Nice.
It was lovely.
Okay.
But the game that I think we all enjoyed the most, and talking about things that you can just like have in your pocket, was we played a escape room card game.
What?
So it's from Asmodee, who published Mysterium and Chris's favourite game, and thank God he's not on because we would be talking about Seven Wonders again and Seven Wonders Duel. And...
Oh, I just love it. I love all 7 of the wonders. I wish there were 8.
The game's the 8th, surely.
Oh.
But it's just called Unlock, and the game itself comes in a very big box for what essentially is just 3 decks of cards, and each deck is a different escape room essentially. And you download an app. So we downloaded this app while we're in this board game cafe, Sugar and Dice. Go there, and so what you do is that basically you have this deck of cards, and each card has a number on the back. And you flip over the first one, and it presents you with a room. And on that room is different numbers. So then you divide the pack of cards between however many you're playing. And then suddenly you've got a timer on the app of 60 minutes. And then suddenly you're rifling through this deck all urgently, trying to find the numbers as dictated on the card in front of you. So the dressing table is number 15. The door over there is number 20. Oh, there's something hanging up in the corner. That's number 57. So just like in a real escape room, you're kind of rushing around at the start like, I found this, I found this, I found that, I found that, I found this. And then from that point on, you're all kind of left to your own little puzzles of how things work together. And at its simplest, the simplest way the mechanic works is that you have two objects, you add the numbers of the cards together, and then you try and find that number in the deck. So, for example, we found a UV light, and we found a keyboard. We added the numbers of those two things together, gave us, so it was, say it was like 30 and 22. So we looked for card 52, found it, and it goes, yes, you've used a UV light and uncovered the keypad, and you can see what people have been pressing on it. So you discard your other cards and you kind of move the story on. And that's at its most basic how it works. But there's other things. So if you use, so the UV light, before we used it on the keypad, we were like, use it on the poster. And in the deck of cards, you find it goes, press the penalty button on the app. That's wasted you 3 minutes of like shining it on a poster, and there was nothing there.
That's awesome.
So it was really, really clever in recreating the experience of being in an escape room and kind of all dealing with your own little puzzles and all dealing with your own different scenarios, and that moment of realization of, hang on, have we tried that with that? And there's other puzzles where you've got to find the number before you combine it with another. So clues will lead you to a certain way that you've got to find a path within some electrical cables that allows some numbers together in order to get a generator on and all that kind of thing. So it kind of recreates those more physical dexterity puzzles within it.
Yep.
And also, through the app, it has a really good hint system. So you're not kind of left on your own. You enter the number of the card in the app, and it will give you like a little hint. It will give you a clue of how it may connect to another thing, or how it might have use within the room. So we really, really enjoyed it. Like, it was excellent. And for us, it kind of summed up where board game cafes really shine. The fact that we could go in there, pay a cover charge, get a cup of tea, and have this incredible experience that would have been a £30 box and one of 3 experiences that, unlike Arkham Horror, we could never play again.
Yeah.
And the sort of reverse of that, we played Celeste and Gloom, and now Celeste and Gloom are on my Amazon wishlist of board games that I kind of want to add in to my collection. And that to me is it's the beauty of board game cafes, and it's unlike any sort of thing that we have in the medium. Like, I remember when I was a kid, I was able to pay £1 to go in the back of my local video game shop and play a game for half an hour.
Yeah.
I remember almost fainting playing Banjo-Kazooie straight for half an hour while stood up in the back of a video game shop.
Well, because it was so awesome.
Yeah,
of course. I mean, I'm in complete agreement with you, and I think that board game cafes have this brilliant capacity to provide you the access to games where you wouldn't normally take a risk on them. Like, I want to go back to Chance Encounters and that kind of thing, and I want to pull down a copy of Scythe and go, right, okay, how does this actually work? How can this possibly be as amazing as I imagine it to be? but also not spend 90 quid to find out that it's that it's garbage, or whatever. I'm sure it's fantastic, but yeah, and again, I think the only games that doesn't work for are games like Magic and Netrunner and maybe Arkham Horror and stuff like that, because those games are much more personal. They're much more about here is my personal collection of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to sit here and actually figure this how to put a deck together in my own spare time, like with a Netrunner or something like that. I'm going to figure out what my deck strategy is actually going to be. Okay, that's all there, and now I'm going to take it to my opponent and see how well that works. I don't think that particularly works very well. Like just having a big box of Magic cards in a board game cafe, I think would be quite a. I wouldn't want to go through that. Like just go through 500, 600, 700 cards, figuring out, is there some decent, where's the next cancel? Do you know what I mean? It's just like, sod that.
That was Staying In with Peter Willington and myself, Sam Turner. If you do feel like, after all of this, you still want to vote for us, then skip back to the head of the podcast where Peter Willington will be standing by to tell you all about how to do it once again. If you want to follow us on Twitter, then you can do so at StayingInPod, and details of anything that we've covered in this podcast can be found at stayingin.podbean.com. Until next time, ta-ra.